Hey folks, Marcus here from the Ashland Fly Shop. Welcome back to another lesson here on the water, and today we're going to be talking about choosing your casting angle. And it's something that I personally think about a lot, and I want to show you the main two types of casting angles that we use a lot in steelhead fishing. Show you why you might want to use some of them in one situation or another in another situation. The first type of casting angle that we aim for in steelhead fishing is what we call slow fly. That's just the standard classic steelhead swing where you're quartering down. So it's typically easier done on your upstream shoulder. So I'm on river left here. I just threw a little snap tee, and if you could see what I did there, I aimed down and across. Put a little mend into the line. Everything more or less straightens out, and your line is just coming across the current very straight and even. And if you can see down on the inside, it really slows down, fishes the inside water very nice. And depending on how you mend, you can get this presentation to fish in a variety of different water types. And that's probably why it's ended up being, I would say, the most popular presentation for steelhead. It's effective, it's easy to quarter down, you can cover the run fairly easily. One thing to think about, especially if you're a fly tyer, is when you're doing the slow fly down and across presentation, you're showing the fish the very butt of the fly first. So that's something to think about as you design flies, when you're in a shop buying flies. Thinking about flies that look good from that perspective will be a little bit more enticing to the fish from that angle. One thing about the slow fly presentation is anytime you're fishing like I am today in the head of a run or in particularly fast water, this is an easy way to fish these spots and cover them at the speed that we like to fish steelhead fishing. You can angle down, throw a little mend, let everything straighten out, and then you're fishing. Even if the current is relatively quick, that's the nice thing about this presentation. So the other type of presentation from that standard down and across or slow fly is what we call broadside. Broadside is typically done best from your downstream shoulder. So being on river left, I'll just set up a little double spey, get it to the far bank, might do a little mend, lift the rod tip. And what you'll see in that line compared to the slow fly, where the slow fly is more or less pointing down with the current, the broadside swing comes across the current. It builds a really big belly in the line, and your fly comes across on its broad side, so it shows it what we call the whole profile of the fly. So back again to fly tying or buying flies in the bin, there are flies that look better on a broadside presentation than they do in that standard down and across. I like to fish broadside in a variety of different circumstances. The first circumstance that I fish a broadside presentation in, which I do often, is if I'm fishing with someone else and they're fishing a run before me, I watch how they're fishing, and if they're doing a standard down and across, then I'll fish broadside behind them. Because after you do this for a little while, you realize that steelhead are not super particular on the fly itself, but they do react differently to different presentations. So I like to come behind someone with a broadside presentation. I also tend to do broadside presentations more often in the summer and fall when I have higher water temps. That line and fly is moving across the water column quite a bit quicker, and in those higher temps you might be a little more likely to elicit a response from a fish. The last thing that I really like a broadside presentation for is if I have a hard current on the outside and really soft water on the inside. Happens quite a bit in winter steelhead fishing when the water's up and you have a nice inside slick. Fishing a run short, not doing very long casts, and letting that head come across the inside broadside is a really nice way to cover soft inside water. One little nuanced point here, although I said the standard down and across is best done on your upstream shoulder and the broadside's done on your downstream shoulder, sometimes we're in casting situations where we're weighted in a place where we can't do the upstream shoulder cast. So I just want to show you how to achieve both of those casts on both shoulders. So setting up an upstream snap tee, instead of casting it down and across, I'll cast it more perpendicular and throw a downstream mend in it. And that downstream mend will help bring that fly more broadside against the current. Same thing if I set up a double spey and I cast it totally perpendicular, I can still do one mend, maybe another mend, and I can straighten everything out. And by the time that thing's swinging, it's swinging in a more or less down and across fashion. So that's important to know because it is easier to do them off particular shoulders, but you can achieve both of those presentations off of both shoulders. So I hope you learned a little bit about the down and across swing and the broadside swing. They're both important to know. It's important to learn which type of presentation elicits a response from a fish in different times of year, different types of water, different sink tips, different types of flies. Learning those type of things over the years will really help you build your set of knowledge around fishing for steelhead. So thank you very much for tuning in.